Hello and welcome back to another episode of One Man's Tracks. Thanks for joining me. Today we're talking about an interesting electronic duo that formed in Las Vegas in 1993. This is notable because at the time really all the house music, electronic dance music that was coming out, that was really popular, that was happening, was all in Europe, and there wasn't much of a scene in North America. So these guys, Jordan and Scott Kirkland, had to sort of pioneer their own sound and build their own blocks to work with in North America. They are the Crystal Method, and that name, of course, provocative as it is, doesn't actually come from the drug. The name comes from when they were working with a certain rapper. They offhandedly commented that Crystal, the lady driving them somewhere, her method of transportation was the Crystal Method, and that sort of kind of phrase went beyond the meaning of it as more of just kind of cool verbiage. Like, I've seen it compared to Def Leppard. You don't think of a panther that can't hear, you think of a cool name for a rock band. So these guys are the provocative, the in-your-face, the, oh, what the heck, this is the Crystal Method. Moving to California, they signed with Outpost Recordings in 1996 and began working on their debut album that would be released the following year. In 98, it was certified gold, and in 2007, Vegas was certified platinum. It's incredible how a decade later would get that platinum certification. It's an impressive feat for kind of a band in a time that really took on that EDM sound and had it blow up while they were coming up and kind of fade away and get absorbed by a ton of other subgenres. And pop, of course, there's a ton of electronic influence there, and either electronic music evolved or went back underground to some extent. I'm guessing their staying power can be attributed to the fact they're willing to have their music be played in advertisements and movies and video games and more. They'd make some adjustments to their sound and compile a bunch of impressive features and start recording this in 1999. Released through Outpost and Geffen Records in 2001. This is the Crystal Method's Tweekend. This cover is a reference to Supertramp album Crisis What Crisis, and this album is their first and most popular, according to sales, stylistic shift among the many that they make, with this one having Ken and Jordan lean on their R&B, hip-hop, and rock influences and placing that over their electric dance bangers. It creates an overwhelming driving force that quite literally drives me. I had to prolong making this review a bunch of times because every time I put it on, I just love playing Mario Kart to it. It's just so fast and fun. I set some of my very fastest times on All Cup Tour thanks to Tweekend here. This album hits fast and it sets a pace that, if you can keep up with it, provides this slow drip of adrenaline that keeps your purpose clear and your feet moving. It does start out, however, with a bit of a messy opener. This one's titled PhD. Hitting with a scratchy electro intro that's met with these whiny synth layers that come in slowly over this kind of early Daft Punky big beat. It does eventually find its groove, even though at the beginning, in the first few minutes, it really doesn't feel like it's going to get there. Wild, Sweet, and Cool sees the beginning of their sound becoming rockier with the first of a few tracks that Rage Against the Machine's Tom Morello is featured on. The guitar riffs add such a cool flavor to the otherwise pretty standard electronic dance number, making this a piece I wish was even longer than it is. Coming in with some woos and ahs, you got the next track, Roll It Up, that has a more open, rave, fuel-y type atmosphere. The vocal samples give it some personality, but it does end up dragging on. Another great guest artist features on the next track, Murder. This time it's the late Stone Temple Pilots singer Scott Weiland, and he comes at you with a more new wavy poppy delivery than the grungy, rocky thing you're used to him providing. Again, this track is one that could go on longer, with the chorus being super catchy and all over top of this great but not exceptional driving dance rhythm and beat. Morello's back again to assist with the Crystal Method's most iconic tracks. Really, both tracks he's featured on pop out as favorites here, with this one having a hip-hop influence featuring Ryu and some scratching from DJ Swamp. It's Name of the Game, the song that's referenced in that Fort Minor song Remember the Name. And I heard him wreck it with the crystal method. Name of the game is Ryu's verse in that one. This one's sleek mixing, masterful drops, and repetitive hooks make it feel like it's a fresh track, but also feels kind of overplayed at the same time. There's just something like so iconic about it that it becomes generic. Good song, but yeah, it does tend to drag on after you listen to it a bunch of times over and over again. The winner follows it up and doesn't try to outdo it, especially in terms of catchiness. It just kind of follows up with a similar aesthetic and creates a really perfect follow-up that keeps the album rolling along really well. Now, Ready for Action sees a bit of a return to the Name of the Game feel, even with Styles of Beyond Ryu returning here as well. The center of this CD has a ton of great tracks, and it really keeps it on its wheels and keeps that momentum, like I said, going. There is a slow start on 10 Miles Back that threatens to break that hot streak, but it does eventually build into another funky, satisfying, danceable piece. Over the Line is a trip-hoppier track with more tasteful Daft Punk-isms over a steady groove. Then you've got the longest track, Blowout, which is the point of the album where I realized that these guys were a bit behind the curve in terms of electronic music when you look over to Europe at the time, particularly the English at the time that were making such incredible electronic music. Their rudimentary beats and kind of standard synths would have been maybe cool had they come out a decade earlier. The dark slow-mo closer, Tough Guy, has a bonus remix version of the Name of the Game tacked on the end of it after a minute of silence that would indicate the end of the album. It gives you the, oh no, this trip just turned really sour kind of vibe where everything starts falling apart and you just kind of have to duck and try to roll your way out of there if you can. A super dope deep cut that almost makes you want to take back some of that mean stuff I said about these guys. They're not the Chemical Brothers. They're not even Fatboy Slim. This is the Crystal Method, and as much as they're not the most impressive electronic group, they've continued to produce high energy electronic dance music all throughout the past 2.5 decades. This record certainly follows in the footsteps of Vegas, but it just ultimately feels less abrasive, more smooth around the edges, more cleaned up. I enjoy driving my cart to Vegas pretty much just as much as this, but I think overall I like Tweekend a little bit more. They've got 3 more albums they produced together before Scott would unfortunately have to retire due to a medical scare, and he would leave Ken to solo produce some more Crystal Method work. He released The Trip Home in 2018 and had plans to release an album last year titled The Trip Out, but you know, coronavirus, the whole thing, quarantine made a lot of people not release their albums because a lot of people make their money when they tour, and if you can't tour, you can't release music, I guess. So hopefully we're about to just get hit by a giant landslide of content and I will have not enough ears to listen to all the awesome tracks and wonderful sounds coming from all over the place. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to get out there, we're going to get messy, we're going to get depraved, it's going to be disgusting, it's going to be amazing. I just can't wait to actually jam out to some electronic music with more than just my little bubble that's around me. Hopefully you're looking forward to it too, and in the meantime, here's a bunch more early electronic music I've reviewed. Here's another video you might like, and make sure you've liked and subscribed right here or down there, and leave a comment and check the description for all those albums I mentioned. That's the name of the game, people. keep on keeping on and stay warm out there. Woo! That's the name of the game.